this was kind of gangster. Elon, Trump, and Elon's son are in the room, and they're giving a state to the nation.
You mentioned some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about $30 million,
right,
etc.
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in
I love that he has his dark MAGA hat on.
In the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where
like Nancy Pelosi or Maxine Waters, damn near looking like AOC.
it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from? And I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So, we're looking at, if you look at, say Treasury, for example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if
I had to fill one of these out today. I had to provide a luncheon. I had to pay for my personal expense. So I had to, I'm listing out my account, what it's for, the list of what it is, the last four that I'm using, all of the stuff, like documenting everything.
The payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks. You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. And this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation. It can take up to a year to get on the list, and even once on the list is not used.
That's a shame. So basically, you can get on America's naughty list, but that doesn't mean anything. That just honestly just means you probably get on a more illustrious list of like, hey, look at all the people we know about. They're doing crimes, they're fraudsters, they're scamsters, we ain't doing nothing about it.
It's mind-blowing.
Totally.
So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about adding common sense controls that should be present, that haven't been present. So they say, like, well, how could such a thing arise? That seems crazy. When you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization. So then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously.
Yeah, when I receive money, I'm like, okay, I'm happy camper.
But if people don't receive money,
ooh, people mad, people angry, real mad.
They do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest.
Yes. Normally the people who are complaining right now about the USAID getting shut down, the Department of Education getting shut down, they're the ones who are calling it out. Wah! They're probably the ones who have been getting the money, who don't want to give up their power. They like the money. It's like they've put on the ring of power. They've looked into Sauron's eye and they're like, give it to me more. If this was the Matrix, they said, I just want to be rich and famous. And now they're getting plugged out of the Matrix and they're like, no, put me back in.
So
put it back in.
Then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints.
It's true.
Now we're saying that no, actually we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay.
And that's how a business should be ran.
Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people. I mean, these things, it's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical. I think it's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people?
And I think one thing that he's kind of missing out on here, truthfully, is the idea that like this is holding people accountable at all levels. It feels like once you're at a certain status, the rules and laws don't apply for you. We know celebrities can drink and drive and they don't go to prison. They don't get their license suspended. They just pay a fine and move on. But it's even more gross when it comes in terms of like bureaucrats and corporations where like different levels. It's like if we're looking at just a mom and pop business or like a maybe even a large corporation. We'll say even a large corporation like a Telemundo or something along those lines. They're gonna have procedures. They're gonna have budgets. And if you're spending money that is not like that is cutting into the margins, they're gonna stop that. They're gonna cut that off, and they may even fire you. But as we're finding out, you could just write blank checks, make everybody happy. Just you're never gonna get complaints if you're just writing checks to everybody and oh, you know what? Here, let me make that up to you. Let me make that up to you. You're like Oprah Winfrey. Just you get a check, you get a check, you get a check. Of course, people are going to come at you and just want that. And the moment the checks start coming, then they're going to be complaints. Always you're going over budget, you're going over overhead. It's just, I guess what I'm saying is there's not an equal application of those people who are in these government positions right now who have no accountability at all to the budgets or the money that they're spent. Yet if we look at the people who are at these corporations now, even like middle tier in the totem poles, they're stressed at the day because they're trying to make sure that they're meeting these fake margins that people want just because they want to be greedy and make sure that they make 10% more than they did last year, even though last year was a record number year, the highest year ever, and like a 20-year company. Next year we're gonna do it again, and it's just unrealistic.
And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it. So, there's crazy things like we just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old.
Yeah, no, Social Security is a program. It's like a scary one because ideally we pay in for it all our lives, and the elderly are probably the most undervalued group within any community. And this fund that is supposed to be the social net for them is just being dried up, and they're not even getting the benefits of what they paid for their entire life.
Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't know. Okay.
Nah, that's pretty old. I will admit that is fairly old.
The most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork.
That's actually insane. They literally just put it down like a poop chute, and they're just like, we'll get to it later.
And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal government.
That's actually insane.
And
We have computers and AI. We can run that shit so much faster now.
the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire.
Sorry, elevator's broken. Your retirement paperwork hasn't come in.
Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to, boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else. And you would add to the goods and services of the United States.
Literally practically anything else instead of working on like a minefield like this. It's actually it's insane. To me, it's insane how wasteful the government's been, and it's amazing what you can get done when you don't care about who takes credit. And with Trump and his team, all the credit's going to go back to Trump, but I don't feel like anyone's actually upset with that, and they're able to go in there and just make stuff happen. And I think that's a powerful thing. I think we have a beautiful administration in our hands right now, and I'm super excited to see, honestly, where it goes. All right, and this will be the last thing on it.
Bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot
That's what I was talking about earlier.
vote, and have their
This is exactly what I was talking about earlier in the stream.
will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's
And this is what I was talking about when government, like 3-letter capital or 3-letter organizations come in, that's the bureaucracy. That's the government entities that want to perpetuate themselves and keep them going forward. And they create people who just think it's blue no matter who. We don't want free thought. We want government to come in. We want Big Papa to come in and fix all our problems.
incredibly important that we close that feedback loop. We fix
What's up,
that
Shadow?
feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there aren't some good. There are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy.
And so many people are mad at Elon because they're like, this is exactly what he is. He's an unelected official who's in the government. And you're not wrong. But at the same time, I think most people that voted for Trump were not just voting for Trump. They were voting for the package that was Trump, JD, Elon, Vivek, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard. Like, we wanted that whole package.
You have to have one that is responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And so,
He ain't wrong.
And if you looked at this, if you asked the founders today and said, "What do you think of?"
That's
the way
why you
things
have 4-letter
turned out?"
agencies?
Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it's not. It does not match the will of the people, so it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if
a lot of money.
if we don't do something
That's
about
a
this
lot
deficit,
of money.
the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is
What?
shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense.
Yeah, and our interest payments are more than that?
But and if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country.
Yeah.
So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
Yeah, and then becoming just a racketeer for scams and for people to come and take advantage of us and get these blank contracts with blank checks that they could fill out the number and sign on the back for themselves. I mean, truly, it's kind of if you're picking up what I'm putting down, then please like the video, subscribe, and if you really like it, then share it with some of your friends. My goal here is to spread a positive message while sprinkling my 2 cents on big topics like American, Indian, and world geopolitics. And even small stuff like Twitch drama and online debacles. And if you want to see it live, come join me over on Twitch. Twitch.tv/ActuallyElrod. That's where I'm going to do all my reactions. And after the reactions, that's where we get down a game. And if you're like, hey, I have a video that I want this dude to sprinkle his 2 cents on, then come over on my Discord and let me know and join the community there. And while we're at it, I have to say thank you to everybody who has made that Discord just so poppin'. I never thought I'd have a Discord that's so flowing. It's really cool to see. Shout out to you, Bobby, Omni, Demon, all of you who have been in there who are just super active. Logie, you're the man. Logie is the one who's like modding and helping run the server, so thank you, Logie. Lastly, I challenge you. I have a challenge for you. Make somebody laugh today. We all know there's enough hate and vitriol in the world. If energy is contagious like the flu, then let's spread and get everyone contagious with our positive energy, right? Not negative energy, because there's so much of that, and if we could just be a small little change in someone's day, then you never know. Maybe that's the thing that starts shifting this world to a happier, healthier, just better place. And with all that said and done, thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.